Hello guys. Again, not a Necros video, but something that is, for me personally, even more interesting than Necros, is a new announcement to some card releases in Photon Hyperdrive, I think it's called. The set that is coming out in the OCG soon. And it is Dogmatika cards. Yay! But don't don't get your hopes up here. Those Dogmatika cards are not the savior of Necros, more like the abandonment of Dogmatika for Necros, because they just finally made Dogmatika Necros an actual, I mean, pure Dogmatika, an actual deck to play. Like, it's actually playable now. So let's go over the cards. So first of all, they got level 12, which is basically Maximus on crack. Because, yeah, lore wise, I think he is like a culmination of Maximus's final form or something. So what he does, first of all, he cannot be ritual summoned except with use of a Dogmatika card. This is specifically here to stop the abuse by Drytron decks. So this cannot be summoned by using Meteona's Drytron, tributing one of the big Drytrons or two of the little Drytrons to summon this. It has to be specifically summoned with Dogmatic Calamity, Dogmaticaturgy, or Dogmaticatism. And the next thing is this card makes your Dogmatica monsters, so it's a blanket protection, not just Helm. It makes them unaffected by by your opponent's activated effects of Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and Link monsters. This means that they are unaffected by stuff like DPE, even if he comes from the grave, so he's better than in protecting than Unicorn ever was. But also he protects from effects like Intus activating from the extra deck coming down on the field. So if you have this guy up with while still having Dogmatica Maximus resolving, you're absolutely fine with them sending whatever they want as long as it will probably not stop you. The only thing they can really do is plus themselves. Third of all, he is a 4,000 level 12 light spellcaster. So he's also level 12. It means that he can be sent off of Magician's Souls because he's a Magician's Souls target, which is relevant, especially due to the next card in convoluted ways. And now for his actual field effect. During your main phase, you can have your opponent apply one of these effects. They send I don't know how it is working specifically here, if you choose the effect or if they choose the effect. So what you can is, so I think it is that you choose the effect and they have to resolve it. So first of all, this doesn't trigger effects where your opponent has to send something to the graveyard. Like if your opponent activates something, like if it floats only if your opponent does something, then it doesn't work apparently with this card. And second of all, this is either an entire field bounce for all Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and Link monsters, non-targeting. It's full blanket bounce, which is crazy. And the other one is they send one card from their hand or extra deck to the graveyard for every 2 cards in their extra deck. That means they have to send 6 cards from their extra deck or hand to the graveyard. It's a send, it's not a discard. So it does not trigger dangers. It does trigger Tearlaments. So care about that, but this thing doesn't care about Tearlament cards anyways, except for specifically the trap, and you can out the trap. But also, this will also trigger, of course, stuff like Kitkalos, Ints, whatever. So you're fine with that. It will also trigger Shaddolls. So again, be careful about that. if you get to choose, you will probably mainly be using the return, the full bounce, especially if it is like working as I think it is. Could be that your opponent has to choose what he's doing. Um, Again, this card does not care about anything sent to the graveyard because of its blanket protection. And now to the actual good stuff. Dogmatika Matrix or Dogmatica Tricks. Um, First of all, when you activate this, you can only activate one of these. It's a continuous spell. When this card resolves, you can add one Dogmatica ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Then, if your opponent controls a monster, you can add one Dogmatica card from your deck to your hand. So, if you go first, this is basically a Rhoda, where like this is a Tenki. But if you go second into a board, if you activate this is a +1. But it gets even better. Once per turn, if you control a Dogmatica ritual monster, you can look at either extra deck and send one monster from it to the graveyard. So now we're into the good stuff. This card is branded in Central Dogmatica plus a Searcher. So it's actually branded in Central Dogmatica in good. The only thing that it cannot do, what Central Dogmatica can, is send an opponent's turn. But you don't fucking care, because this card is absolutely crazy. So let us get to a deck list I was working on. And no, I am not playing any Necros cards. So this is one of the options. Spellbook and Dogmatica ritual stuff. This is kind of like a hyper draw list. It is very good at drawing. Insanely good, because in combo you get to search for Illusion of Chaos, and that allows you for some lines that are pretty damn crazy. So this is just the list. You, of course, play 3 of Dogmatica Matrix, because, yeah, Ecclesia can search it, Nadir can search it off of Ecclesia, and this card is just unbelievably crazy, especially because it's a continuous and it is and it gets extra value. This is a +2. This is just absurd. You play 1 White Nadir because you want him as an option to finish games. If you summon him, you can Kaleido him with Dogmatic Calamity, and therefore we play 1 level 12 target. Because you can specifically also send a level 12 and special him. You're going to use that guy to push for game. So finally, this deck has a really good game push. Like this plus White Relic and targeting him is 8/5 damage, and you get to spin the entire enemy extra deck, if I understood it correctly. We're playing the spellbooks because we were playing a lot of spells and we want to draw stuff, and the spellbooks have good synergy with Dogmaticas. And they allow us to play Wisdom and the newly unbanned Spellbook of Judgment, which allows us to special our favorite new Floodgate, Jaugen. So this is definitely an option. For our extra deck, we're going full ham on Heralds, 1 Omega, 2 Titaniclad triple ends, 1 Garua, 1 First Dark Lord as the target, 1 Nina Ruru. I think this may be an option because this can reborn a spellcaster level 4 or higher. You can reborn those. You can actually reborn White Nadir of Dogmatica with Nina Ruru. So keep that in mind. You cannot ritual summon him with anything except for Dogmatica cards, but you can still special summon him. Then also Lina, Cowboy, and Artemis. Artemis is to link stuff away. And this is one way to play the list. Another thought we had was to play this list with... Here, let us get into this. This is another list I was working on. But you can play this list with Mech Knights. And specifically Girsu, because Girsu summons a monster to your opponent's side of the field, which then allows you to resolve the Dogmatica Matrix in an even better fashion. And it's also a 1-card extra deck monster, so you get to special summon Ecclesia, and then resolve those. So you have 6. You basically play 9 Nadirs if you open Girsu instead of 3, which is absolutely crazy. And you of course can go for good OTKs with this, and you have this in the in the spell card zone, so you get to special summon your Mech Knights. Everything is wonderful. So this is another option to play this. I did not work out how to work it with with Necros, because the Necros cards, uh, it doesn't really have direct synergy. You don't get the crazy pluses that Dogmatika Matrix does on the summon of Necros monsters. You can of course turbo into a Necros monster. That's not an issue. But you're just better off turboing into Dogmatika monsters. So let us get into a test hand here with the first list I've been showing. Sometimes this deck will brick, sometimes it will just open like this. So first of all, Nadir, we go do Nadir into Garua, and we get ourselves, in this case, an Ecclesia. Or actually, in this case, we could go directly for the White Relic, but Ecclesia is safer since we have Fleur. And then we get an extra draw. We got a Droplets, Effect, Search. We already got the Dogmatica Matrix. We then can go for the where is she? White Relic. You open the Dogmatica tricks. You then activate it to get yourself the Calamity. Then you activate Calamity, special summoning this, sending an Arclight. Arclight effect. Also, thank God Nadir is now at 3 again. Arclight will get you to Illusion of Chaos. And then this card gets to send an extra card from your extra deck to the graveyard to then get yourself the Dogmatika Macabre. And then we can go ahead, use Illusion of Chaos to put this to top of deck to get ourselves Magician Souls, which then, for cost, will send White Knight of Dogmatika to special summon this. And then you can activate this, send 2 spells from your hand to the graveyard, draw up to 2 cards. Oh my god, we drew Knowledge. Can Knowledge away this, draw even more cards. We normal summoned already. We could go for a Judgment, but it's not optimal now to go for Spellbook of Judgment. So now we go again and do Dogmatika Macabre. Special summoning, because we got 2 extra deck monsters into the graveyard, we can special this. We could have also gone directly for the level 12, but we wanted to go for this to get even more pluses, because we want to be in Plus Town. And we got ourselves the follow-up, because we already have the Fleur-de-Lis. We go set 3, and we went plus 1,000,000, basically. So this is just generally how the deck works. You like draw a bajillion cards due to cumulative draws, and it's quite ridiculous. Also, you of course have the option then to go here and do this. So in this case, we shall get ourselves the secrets, which will then go into our Spellbook of Judgment. Sadly, we drew the White Nadir, or I don't know if White Nadir is the correct name. I imagine it is, but it may not be. Then we go here, go into this, activate pre-prep, go get ourselves the White Relic and the Dogmatika Macabre to deck then even more. Then we go ahead, draw 2. We drew, sadly, the Jowgen. So we now go for Dogmatika tricks. So we activated 3 spell cards now. And now we will go for the Dogmatic Calamity. Then we activate Dogmatic Calamity, special, send, effect, search, send, put to top of deck, special. Then we can go ahead and trigger those. Draw 2 cards. And even if our draws are trash like this, like actually I should have only drawn 1 card. I was kind of an idiot there. And technically I should have kept this and then drawn a card, but it doesn't really matter. Then we go for this. We special summon this by tributing the White Nadir in this case. Or we could keep him in hand, which is probably the better choice. Also, we have another Arclight Engrave. So in this case, we would banish 2 Arclights. The reason why we have a second Arclight is because of Dogmatica tricks. And then we get to send ourselves the Titanic Lad. Or we get to send ourselves a Garua and draw instead a card, which is probably better right now. So we draw ourselves a card. And then in the end phase, because we activated 5 spells before we activate, after we activated the, what's it called? The Judgment, we can go ahead then and, because we drew the Jowgen, 1, 2, 3, 4, special summon this, effect, add. And now we are excessively plussed, like absolute excessive amounts of stuff. The only bad thing about this list specifically is that it does not play enough hand traps to draw into. But you can draw into stuff like Droplet or Artemis Slay. Maybe Artemis Slay is not the best card. But if you want to test this on Dueling Book, I have created the 2 custom cards for this: the White Nadir of Dogmatika and the Dogmatika Matrix. And generally, it should be pretty nice to play around with. So here, let's try 1 last hand. We activate this because this is a searcher and extender. Then we go ahead, do this. We special summon this in defense, and we boost the Ecclesia and send an Arclight, so we can chain block, you know, and we get ourselves access to the Illusion of Chaos. And now, since we already have Dogmatika Macabre, we can, in this case, go ahead and send ourselves the Garua to draw an extra card, which in this case is an Ecclesia. Then we activate the Illusion of Chaos to put to top of deck, to then special summon out the Magician's Souls, to then go ahead and send the White Knight, to then go ahead and draw 2, to then cry that we drew absolutely redundant. Then we draw 2 again. What is this? What are these draws? Jesus. And then we go ahead and banish here to special summon this. And because we control both, you can send this. And we can get ourselves, we can set this, and then we can get ourselves the White Knight. And as follow-up, we would draw Dogmatika tricks. We could go for a Maximus play. We could go for this play again. There are a couple of thoughts here for the deck building. Like you could play more Souls because Souls is excellent, especially in a grind game. Like you turbo through your deck like crazy, like in this, because we play a spell count of 26. Um, in general, you could also go ahead and play more of the Dogmatica ritual monsters, but they are kind of bricks. You could go for prosperity instead of the spellbook stuff, but the spellbook stuff is very powerful. Prosperity will find you Nadir. I think prosperity is probably the way in the Necros build of this. But in general, you basically want to turbo through the Dogmaticas. Maybe you want to play, instead of all of the draw power here, some traps. Maybe you want to go for hand traps. An option would be to main deck Secret Village of the Spellcasters so that your floodgates are protected. Uh, all in all, this is absolutely. I I must say thank you, Konami, for first of all unlimiting Nadir, and second of all, actually bringing us such good support for a deck that basically was unplayable before. So, tell me your opinions about this, the new support. I hope you like it. See ya.